It looks like we are live, which is amazing. You should even be able to hear me right now. So, please comment if you can hear me. That's the only way I'm going to be able to know that this works. I'm trying. Hi everyone, I'm Sebastien, founder of the Free Entrepreneur Movement, and today I am answering all questions that I've been asked as a follow-up to my LaunchCon presentation. This is a new format that I'm doing, and I'm actually using this opportunity as a way to test whether that's a good idea or not. You might have a bit of noise coming from the Promenade des Anglais behind me, but I'll try to make it work as well as possible. And I'll start with the questions. Question number one was Chad asking, great presentation, thank you. Question, you mentioned the series of 3 emails to remind them to watch the first video. How much time between those emails? So what I do when I do the conditional launch is I send people an email as soon as they registered with the link of the video they asked for, which is PLC1, and then the next day I send a reminder. The day after that I send a reminder again, and the fourth, so 3 days after they join in, is the last email regarding PLC1, which would be the third reminder, 4th email in total. So I send 4 emails spaced in between. I have 1 day in between, and I send 7 a.m. each morning. And then I wait another day, and then I send a podcast, which is a case study of a client. And after the podcast, I start sending PLC number 2. So this is what I'm doing for my Evergreen launch. Next question. Elaine asked, best presentation of the event. Thank you, you are a legend. Thank you, Elaine. That is not actually a question, but this is great. Women's midwife specialists, thank you. Jessica says, I loved how you shared sending reminders about video 1 to those who don't open, but I have an Evergreen webinar, no video series before. What do you recommend for getting them to consume a webinar, and should we focus on getting them to watch live or on the replay page? Thanks in advance. So, Jessica, actually, I think this is a mistake. Not giving people a video series before the webinar is a mistake. This is actually one of the ways you get to answer your question, which is how do you increase the attendance rate of the webinar? Well, 1 day before the webinar, you send them a video, and 2 days before the webinar, yeah, I know, this is noisy, sorry for that, this is a test. So anyway, 2 days before the webinar, you send them also a video. So this is a model I learned from friend Kern, which is you send an email that has a case study video. That's a good content to send before the webinar. And so they sign up. You just say, great, you signed up, which is awesome. 2 days before the webinar, you send them a video that explains what the webinar is about and what they will learn and how this is different. This is straight from Frank Kern. 1 day before the webinar, you send them another video that answers objections that people would have about the topic of the webinar. And then an additional thing that I do is on the day of the webinar, I send them an email with a case study of someone that has applied what I teach in the webinar and has gotten even better results than what the promise of the webinar is. So if the promise of the webinar is like lose 10 pounds in 3 weeks, then you would show a case study of someone that has lost 15 pounds. And you could say, well, this is actually not typical because this is higher than the results that I'm promising you with this webinar, but I think this will be an interesting video for you. So that's how I increase attendance rates. And the other question that Jessica asked was, should we focus on getting them to watch live or on the replay page? I only do live, I do not do replays. I think replays are an invention of the devil. Don't do it, it's bad. It teaches people that they should not attend live because there's going to be a replay anyway. And also, people, like the average attendance rate of a replay is really low. People tend to stay 90 minutes on average on my live webinars and like 5 minutes on average on the replay. So it's not worth doing that. Next question. I have Misha. Misha asks, what conversion for Evergreen is a good conversion? The answer is, it depends. I cannot give you an answer to that question because it depends on the market, depends on the product, depends on the traffic source. So if I have leads coming in from my affiliates, they might be worth anywhere between 24 and 80 euros per lead. And if I have leads coming in from Facebook ads, they might be worth anywhere between €1 to €6. So that's lower than affiliates, but the conversions are widely different. Question number 2 he asks is, does your Waterslide always start with a lead magnet, or do you generally drive traffic directly to the 4-part series opt-in? I tend to have people opt in for the thing I really need them to consume, which is my PLC sequence or my webinar sequence. So I don't usually have opt-in for a like PDF and then send them PLCs. Not usually. It's not as effective. If you do have a webinar though, it might be more efficient if you're driving paid ads to have them opt in first for a PDF, which will have a higher opt-in rate, and then on the thank you page offer the webinar. Question number 3 is, do you have live webinars for those who went through the funnel but never bought? Yes. So let me clarify that. What I have is I have people going through my funnel. There are Evergreen webinars in there, but then everybody that's after the Waterslide is in a different list that I call the Jacuzzi, which is the list that I send my broadcasts to. So I tend to do 1 to 2 live webinars a month to all of the past people on my list. These people, they get my newsletter 3 to 4 times a week with video content, and they get invites to the monthly webinars, which of course sell my product. Let me just check. So next question is, what is the conversion from did not buy to webinar registrant, from webinar registrant to a buyer? That's like the answer to that. It wildly depends. So I can't give you a one size fits all answer to that, because it depends so much on how long the person has been on my list, what the traffic source is, so many different factors that the answer would not make sense to somebody else. Let's see, next question is Jordan. Jordan asked, if after 3 reminders they still haven't watched PLC 1, what the hell? Do you send them PLC 2 anyway or drop them out of the sequence? I do wait for 1 day, I send them a podcast, which is a case study, and then I wait for another day, and I send them the email sequence for PLC2. I do not drop them out, because maybe someone has opted in, they're really interested, but didn't have time over the last 4 days. There is no reason for me to not send them the next bit in the sequence. So I do keep them in the Waterslide. Like, if somebody has opted in for something and you have an offer that's related to that something, you should have them go to the end. Even if they didn't attend the webinar, even if they didn't consume the PLC, you have them go to the end of the line with you. Next question is Kenny. Thanks, Sebastien. Great seeing you and hear you speak again. Okay, thank you, Kenny. Josh Cantrell says, thanks, Sebastien. Wait. Josh says, I love your presentation, bro. Can you teach me French so I can buy your stuff? So two good pieces of good news, Josh. Question number one is, can I teach you French? The answer is no, but there are excellent classes you can take. One of them is called the Michel Thomas method, and you could be speaking French like 2 weeks from now, maybe 3 weeks from now, if you took it. So I highly recommend the Michel Thomas method. Part two is, you can buy my stuff even if you don't speak French, just as a way to say thank you. That would be nice. But outside of that, I do have one person right now that is following my course and has learned French especially for that, so it's not impossible. The bad news is, if you're an American, I know you will probably never learn another language because, hey, Americans don't learn languages. But yeah, I have a person that's from Mexico and came from lowest means than most of the people that will be watching this, and he learned French to go through my course, and he's gonna be like one of my awesomest case studies ever. But yeah, sorry Americans, you have bad mindsets that has been taught to you at school. You will probably never learn another language. If you do, if there's anyone on this feed that comes from the US and you learn any other language, even if it's not French, I will give you my course for free. That is a challenge. Robert says, following my thread, thanks for the awesome presentation. Thank you, Robert. Scott says, awesome info. Looking forward for more. Good info. Cool. Michael says, great presentation. Thank you, Michael. Anne says, awesome presentation. Thanks for the added Q&A and bonus replay. My pleasure. Stephanie says, thanks for the great presentation. My pleasure. All right. Scott asks, is there any one resource in English that you would recommend to visualize the Evergreen launch process? An Evergreen launch funnel diagram or flowchart? I think one of the best resources in English would be Frank Kern's course, Mass Conversion. It's a lot about how to do the ads process, but he's got a good framework for Evergreen. It's not exactly the same as what I teach, but it's a very powerful one. And yeah, he has great content on that. So the course is called Mass Conversion. Next, Sandra says, I speak 5 languages, born in the USA. Yay, Sandra. Next question. Love the strategies and tactics, very useful and practical information. I look forward to seeing last year's presentation. Thanks, Carol. Again, I'm sorry for the noise. I am on the Riviera right now, and we have very busy days with cars and planes flying over and all of that. But this is a test for a new format, and I'm just trying to figure out how to do the live thing without the noise. I shouldn't have done it outside, but hey, you never know. Jason says, you crushed it, Sebastien. Huge value and takeaways from your presentation. Would be nice to sit on a webinar where you walk us through a deeper look at what you showed us today. Jason, this could be considered to be a webinar where I'm going deeper, so that's the good news. The bad news is all of my content is in French, and I have no plans at the moment to go through the additional work of translating that into English. Also, yesterday was Thursday, but I was just coming back from France, so I didn't work yesterday. Coming back to France, so I didn't work yesterday. So this is why I'm doing this on a Friday, which it's not working for my business. It's still kind of work to do this Q&A, but yeah, I think it's nice to do this. Next question is Derek that says, thanks Sebastien for sharing your experience with us. My pleasure, Derek. Next question, Alexandre. Alexandre says, Sebastien, thank you for the incredible presentation. About price, in Evergreen, is it always cheaper? And I think you mean cheaper, as in, do my prices have to be lower in Evergreen than they are in live launches? And the answer is no, they do not need to be cheaper. What I do is I always want to have an irresistible offer in my evergreen sequence. However, I do not ever want to lower my prices. So the price I have in my evergreen sequence is probably the same as what I sell in my live launch. What I would do if you have a product that's on the shelf all year is I would make it a higher price on the shelf than in evergreen, but not by lowering the evergreen price. I would actually raise the price of the off-the-shelf experience on your website. Patricia says, I love that you decided to work only 1 day a week, and I love that you focus on your own audience during that day. I'm aiming for 3 days a week in 2019. You are a true inspiration. And Clark said, 100% agreed. That's the way to take control of your destiny. So thank you to both of you. I'm grateful that I've been able to do this, to achieve this goal, and now that I've got the opportunity to share with other people how to do it. So yeah, I'm happy that I get to share with other people. Roberto says, congratulations Sebastien, best presentation and a lot of value to my knowledge. Keep teaching like this and good luck. Caroline says, excellent, superb, epic, awesome, amazing presentation. Wow, thank you. Michelle says, I didn't know you before, but you inspired me. Thank you. That's what it means, guys, if it is French. But Michelle asked a question, which is, can I do Evergreen with LearnyBox, or which platform do you use? The answer is yes, Michelle. Tu peux faire du perpétuel avec LearnyBox. Many of my clients are using this tool in French and in the French language. So yes, it is possible. They have what it takes to do an Evergreen launch or an Evergreen webinar. So that's a good platform for it. Jérôme says, Sebastien, what was the #1 resource that influenced you to build your Evergreen process like you have now? Is it a book? Was it a course? Was it a coach, etc.? So, as I mentioned earlier, I think the most powerful resource I would recommend in the English language is Frank Kern's course called Mass Conversion. I think he probably sells it. I think he probably sells it in Evergreen. He's not putting a lot of emphasis on it right now, but I think you might even be able to get it if you sign up to his monthly mentorship program, which is probably called Inner Circle. I would recommend this course. Out of everything else that has influenced me on my way to here, I think it's the best English recommendation I could make. Next question. John Witt says, thank you for the amazing process and inspiration. You are a light in the world. I will need some help creating my Waterslide. When you have a chance, share some guidance on resources, yourself included, of course. Well, my resource is, if you speak French, I have a course. If you don't, I only do consulting days, which are fairly high price. It's 25,000 euros, which is $28,000 a day for the consulting. It comes with $1 million guarantee. So if you already have the resources that could be put there to grow the business, I offer a guarantee that my consulting day will yield an additional $1 million in sales for the business, or else you get all of your money back. But yeah, outside of that, I do recommend in English Frank's course if you don't speak French and if the consulting is outside of your reach. And obviously this is not like an ad for it, because for most people that's totally not something that would work for you because of the price point, which is fine. I'm totally fine with not doing 100 consulting days a year, which would kill me. So yeah, I think the next step is just to get started. Like, I gave you enough with my presentation and today's Q&A to get started, and then you can build from there and get some evergreen funnel in place. Valerie says, great presentation. You were mentioning the live webinar monthly to drive previous leads to, and then a recorded one for the rest of the month. Where does this fall in the funnel process for both an old lead and a new one? I'm not sure I get your question, so I'll answer as best as I can. When you get someone to opt in on your website or squeeze page, you want them to go through the Waterslide, which would be an Evergreen launch or Evergreen webinar in most cases. So this is what happens for the new leads. I do not invite Oh no! I think I have a battery problem, which is okay, let's see if I can somehow get a webcam or such in here so that you have some kind of video. Okay, oh, I'm back. Oh, technology is awesome. I am back, but not with the same quality, but whatever. Battery problems. So the question was new leads. New leads do not go through my webinar. They don't. Well, not to my live webinar. They go through the Evergreen process. That's how things work. You do not want the new leads to go through anything live, because it will mean that you will have not done what Sebastien taught. You will have like killed your Waterslide, and Sebastien will be very unhappy with you. And someone asked in the chat, like, what do I use to create this live session? I'm using a tool called OBS. That's what enables me to stream like this, and this is like falling back on my computer webcam because my high-tech, very expensive webcam has just died from battery failure. Patricia is the next question, so let's go see what the question is. Patricia asked, what happens if they don't watch any of the PLCs? No sales video at all, or do you put them in another bucket, or do you put them on the regular list? Well, let me be clear. If someone has signed up to the sequence I have for any of my, let's try to have better image. If someone has signed up to my Evergreen funnel, I send them the whole thing. I go to the end, I go to the sales page, and I have no problem with it. So I do send them the sales video, even though they might not have watched any of the PLCs. Because I don't know if maybe they watch half of each PLC. Maybe they read all of the emails but did not watch any of the PLCs completely. Maybe the script on the page didn't detect that they went through the whole thing. I don't know. What I know is that they signed up recently for information that was related to what I have to sell. So I do send them the sales letter. Let's see what the next question is. I have a question from Christian. Christian says, I came to LaunchCon to find answers how I can offer my physical products, which are magic tricks for beginners up to professionals, in a launch or similar. I think that Evergreen could be the perfect answer. I cannot wait until I can see the video of last year, and I intended to scratch together all of my French knowledge from school and just join you in French. Well, you could, as I said, there is one person that was there at LaunchCon actually that took French classes just to go through my course, so that's a possibility. If you don't speak French, I said you have two options, which is I recommend Frank Kern's course called Mass Conversion that has a good, has a good framework, I believe, for Evergreen that could totally help you get started. Also in PLF, Jeff Walker has a module on Evergreen launches. Robert says, hi Sebastien, I really enjoyed your presentation. Your Evergreen approach totally resonated with me. My question is, what Evergreen software system do you use, and would you recommend it to someone starting out with the Evergreen process? I currently use a French email provider for my Evergreen sequences. However, to host the videos, I use lead pages and ClickFunnels, which is the simplest thing you could use. And for my Evergreen webinars, I use EverWebinar. I used to use other like handmade, house-made tools, but EverWebinar is just perfect for the task, so I will not go anything more complex than that. Before EverWebinar, I used Stealth Seminar, which is a great tool also. However, I think Stealth Seminar was built by a tech person and has a lot of tech bells and whistles, but I think the interface is way less user-friendly. So if you are not tech savvy, then I would highly recommend EverWebinar instead. So I have questions coming live actually on the feed from Mary, Patricia, Joan, Sonja, Dorothy, and Sandra. So first, let me answer the people that asked their questions on the question page, and I'm coming to the live questions on the feed. Laszlo asks, Sebastien, what would you recommend for a CRM application after they download it from the App Store? Would you start an evergreen sequence with PLCs and then open cart for a few days with a special price? This is not super clear because I don't know if you're trying to sell the CRM application or if you ask which CRM application I would recommend. That is not clear for me. So yes, for evergreen sequence with PLCs to people that opt into your website and haven't like bought on the spot. If you have any of these people, I would say go for that. Like having a sequence is something that will pay huge dividends for you. However, I did not get the part about the CRM downloading from the App Store. If you are asking what I would recommend as a CRM, I use Agile CRM. They do have the ability to program the emails in advance, so you could build an evergreen sequence there. What's not as great about it is not as good as Infusionsoft or any other tool that's built for email delivery. And if your question is that you do sell, you personally do sell a CRM, then yes, you can use an Evergreen Launch to sell CRM. That works really well. So this would be a good idea. Next questions, I have Sharon. Hi Sebastien, learning about Evergreen launches was one of the main reasons I came to LaunchCon. I love your presentation. Thank you, Sharon. I do have a question or two. First of all, is there a best price point for Evergreen products? The answer is no. It depends on what you actually sell. So there is no like price point for Evergreen. And here's the simple reason why. Evergreen is just in the eye of the customer. Evergreen is still just a launch or a webinar. They do not know it's Evergreen. Therefore, it would make no sense to make it a special price because they do not know it's Evergreen. So it's just the same as what you would. It's just the same as what you would do in a launch. Second question. What company do you use to set up the broadcast sequences that go out to the unopened emails after each launch video? I use ConvertKit and I don't know that they do that. I do not ever send broadcast messages in the Waterslide. They are not broadcast. They are follow-up messages or automated messages. A broadcast is when you send to all of your list at the same time. A follow-up is when each person gets the email on their own time based on when they joined. So I use a French service, but before that I use Aweber. It would work. It's not my favorite tool. Many of my friends that used to use Aweber have moved to ActiveCampaign. So that's what they would recommend in English. So that's what I would recommend in English. Laura asked, such a wonderful talk, Sebastien. I'm inspired to be more diligent about stepping away from work. Great! I have the freedom. I need to make the difficult choice to use it. I did have a question about Evergreen specifically. For the model you talked about with sending PLC 2 if they watch PLC 1, was it if they actually watched or clicked to watch? We have the tech to do that, but we also have transcripts, and so we would be mixing many who read but don't watch. I sent people to the next PLCs after they have watched. I do not send just to people that have clicked, because lots of people click and then they do nothing on the page, or they watch half of the video. I want them to consume all of the video. So I upgrade people to the next PLC on a fast track basis if they have watched, or else I send a few more reminders to make them watch. There is no problem with having them go to the transcript. What you should do is just towards the end of the transcript, you just click, if you've read all of it and you want to go to the next bit, click here. But don't have it be too visible, because you don't want people to just scroll down and see it. You want it to be like embedded in the text, so that it does pretty much the same thing that I'm doing at the end of my videos. Jordan asked, Sebastien, your presentation was the perfect mix of actionable content and inspiration. Would love to know the tools you're using to implement the Evergreen launch, particularly how you move people through the series instantly if they watch the whole video. So, I tried to have a tech guy build this for me. That was super hard. Like, to get someone to do it, for some reason it was frustrating and long and taking too much time, and just to explain it. So what I did is I built it myself. I taught myself in the morning on my work day how to do it, and I built it myself. If you are not tech savvy, you should use plus this, which is a tool from Infusionsoft that enables you to do exactly that. And my computer says this is my last 1% of battery, so let's see how many questions I can answer before the feed dies. Katie says, I do have a tech question. When you talked about the Waterslide and how you can accelerate it by sending them video too, what is the tech system you are using to know that they've finished and triggered the sending of that email? Just like I said, you can have a guy code this for you, which is fine. It shouldn't take them more than a week, or else they are scamming you, because I took like